Hi, this is Rochelle, and this is Excel Basics Part B. We're going to cover a couple of items in this lecture. Page layout has its own menu up at the top, so we're in the page layout menu, and in here you're going to do all of the different things to page setup that you could possibly want to do. So you can set up whether you want portrait or landscape view or printing. You can pick your paper size. You can set your margins, and you can set them by different sizes. You can also decide if you want to center horizontally or vertically on the page or both. You can do a print preview to see what it looks like. When you're in print preview, you can do show margins, and you can actually move your margins around manually, which I tend to do. It's a little bit quicker. You can also do your header footer, which I showed you in the file and sheet naming lecture, so I'm not going to review it again here. You can have your footer show up on different pages or odd and even pages. And then in your sheet options, there's many. You can have grid lines show up, which is a cool thing when you're working with a lot of numbers. You can have print only in black and white, even if you're on a color printer. You can have draft, and then you can have your row and column headings show up. So these are some different options in the sheet. And then you can always do a print preview. So if you do grid lines and you do print preview, notice it prints the grid lines in so that you can see things, and it'll do it for your entire print range. There's some other options in here like bring forward, send back, which I'm not going to cover. You can have themes, and you might want to play around with themes. In the formula menu, this is where you do a lot of different things with formulas. The Autosum is here. It's also on the home screen, and you can insert functions. I'm going to talk about functions in a later lecture. So a lot of what's on this tab we're going to cover later. I do want you to see that in Calculate Options, it's default to automatic. If you ever see Calculate down in the lower left of your screen, go up here and make sure your automatic calculation is on. And if you ever see that, you can press F9 and it will calculate. In the review, make sure to review things that you hit spelling. I have spelling up in my quick data up here, and I know I skipped data. I'll go back and do that one in review. So I have it up here. Other things that are in review are things I'm not going to cover right now, like protect a sheet or protect a workbook security. That kind of thing's a little more advanced, so we're not going to cover that right now. Let's go back to the data tab. We do a lot of stuff in data. We can sort and we can filter. What I'm going to do is show you the filter real quick. In the filter, you highlight what you want to filter, and then you select the filter button, and it puts the drop down arrows. And then you can hit the drop down and you can select what it is you want to see. It's very helpful when you have numbers, and I'll go over this when we have a number example to look at. You can turn it off. You can sort anything here, and I will be covering this when we have an example in a later lecture to look at numbers. You can do a quick sort, or you can do sort and manually make advanced selections. I'm not going to cover get external data because that's an advanced topic when you're connected to data sources, and I will be covering the text to columns in another lecture also. In the view, this is where you can, important thing is you can freeze panes. So let's say that when you move up and down, notice that my row 4 isn't moving. That's because I did freeze panes. So I'm going to unfreeze my panes. And now you can see that it goes away when I go down. So I tend to use freeze panes. You can freeze columns and rows by just moving your mouse over and hitting freeze panes. And now you can see when I go to the right, column B stays there. So that's a cool feature. What else is in the review? You can open a new window. It'll just open a new selection, and you can zoom. So you might want to look at something 100%, or you might want it to be bigger or smaller. So you can mess around with your zoom. And that's macros we're not going to cover in this class. Print preview. I showed you how to do print preview, but I want to show you how to print, do some stuff where you print to one page. Inside of page layout where we were, you can set your print to fit to one page here, or you can adjust your size. You can also set your print area, which I use. I have it in my quick access toolbar I can just press it here. So that's a cool one I use all the time. Global settings I've mentioned earlier, but if you want to do something to the whole worksheet, you press up in the corner and that will globally do whatever it is you're trying to do. You can globally format a column or a row, or you can click around. So when you hear me say global, that I'm selecting more than one thing. I showed you autofill in the previous lecture, so that was where we came in and we had numbers. So let's say we want to go 2, 4, 6. Then you can autofill that, and notice it carries that sequence down. So that is a cool item too. And then column widths, if you want to just mess with your column widths, you can just highlight the column and you can move it around. If you want it to fit to the right amount, if you highlight to where it becomes the plus and you double click it, it will manually adjust to the largest width. You can also wrap text. So I select wrap text, and then I notice it wraps itself. And then I need to say, well, I want to make sure all the text fits. So I double click and it adjusts on a row or a column. If you want to merge and center something, let's say that I have the word merge here, and I want to merge these two cells, I can highlight what I want to merge and say merge and center, and then those become one cell. It's cool for headings. You have to be careful when you merge things and you're using number and formulas, because it might you might get errors, but for headings it's a good thing, and you can undo it just as easily as you did it. So that is the overview of Excel Basics B. If you have any questions, send me an email.